Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Tatiana. If you're new here, thank you for coming back or for stopping by. Today we are going to be doing a back day, and then we'll be showing you one of my favorite meals that I eat to reach my goals. I do want to touch on the giveaway though. So we started that giveaway on my previous vlog. It was the most recent leg day, and I had you comment if you wanted to be entered in to win the JT Fitness sweatshirt, so you can still do that. I'm going to pick a winner. It's going to end Friday, and I will announce it Saturday, just so you know. And this is a reminder, if you haven't done that, go ahead and go do that. But anyway, let's get into this workout. We started out with a double pulley lat pull down, and honestly, I love this workout. I feel it so much in my lats, and I get really good mind-muscle connection. We did this for about 10 to 14 reps, and we started out as like a little bit lighter weight, and then we went a little bit heavier. I love doing something like this where it's like a stretch kind of motion for one of my first exercises, just to really warm up and loosen up my back and get it ready for back day. And then we moved on to the T-bar row. This one is a personal favorite for me. I like that you just can work on going heavier with this. And honestly, I love the, again, mind-muscle connection I feel with this exercise. I honestly think I just love training back, so. Okay, moving on to the lat pull downs. This is just like a normal standard wide grip lat pull down. I honestly love this one as well. I think we're just gonna settle in on that I love training back, and most of these exercises I'm going to love. But yeah, I've always loved like a wide grip. I think it just really targets that lat, and I just really like the feeling of it. And again, the mind muscle connection here is pretty spot on. If you're not incorporating like a wide grip lat pull down, highly recommend. Okay, so as we get into my heavier sets, I go ahead and throw on my wrist wraps. I like to have them on because I want to train my muscles as hard as I can. I don't want my grip strength to be hindering me, and so that is why I use my wrist wraps, and I don't use it on my lighter sets, just so I can work on that grip strength in those sets in particular. But I want to go heavier. I want to grow my back. I want to get wider, a wider back, and so with that, I'm not going to let my weak grip strength, hinder that from happening. So I'll continue to work on it on my lower sets, and then I will just try to push more weight or pull more weight on the heavier ones. Now moving into the assisted pull-ups. These are actually not my favorite, but I want them to be. I want to get my pull-ups. Yeah, I have been struggling to get them, and so I've been working really hard on trying to get them. It's just a really big goal of mine to get my pull-ups, and so you'll see often in my back days or me talking about or doing some sort of pull-ups, banded, assisted, just because my goal is to get my pull-ups. I just have always thought it was so awesome seeing especially like women do pull-ups. I'm like, they are so strong. Like, that is awesome. So I hope to develop my back and get strong enough to be able to do pull-ups. That is a goal of mine. Okay, so moving into the barbell bent over rows. These ones are pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie. So I've already gotten into a little bit of my heavier sets, hence the wrist wraps. So let's get into this set. With these, you want to make sure your core is nice and engaged and nice and strong, so it keeps your chest from falling down. And then I went up just a little bit, and then I did my next set. I also threw on my belt. So same thing as I mentioned before about the wrist straps. You don't necessarily need or want to be using your belt for every single set. You want to continue to be working on that, your natural belt, I guess you can say. Working on engaging your core, tightening your core, bracing your back, all those things without the belt. And so once you get heavier, of course, use your belt. But yeah, moving on to the next. These are the hammer strength plate loaded seated rows. These ones I've always really liked as well. I just like going a little bit heavier on these guys, and I think, training heavy is kind of it's fun. It's fun for me, especially on back. And I've always liked this workout, this specific machine. If your gym has a plate loaded row, I highly recommend doing it. They are awesome. Okay, moving on to the next part of the video. Now onto the cooking part of the video. So I preheated the oven to 425, and then I am going to cook my New York strip. It is bone in, so I'll turn it on about like a 6, 7, 8 around that range, and I will use butter or tallow. Today I'm using butter, and I'll let that heat up, and then I will just salt it while it's heating up. And I then salted the other side. I just didn't record that part, but I just generously salt to my liking. Don't mind all the layers. In the wintertime, I'm always so cold. Anyway, I put some butter on the pan, and then I am getting ready to sear the steak. You'll want to make sure that the pan is nice and hot before you put the steak on there. And then I just seared them for a minute, about a minute each side. You can be a better judge whether or not your pan's hotter or whatnot. You just don't want to cook them too much here because they'll be doing their main portion of cooking in the oven. And when you do sear it with butter, just be careful not to turn it on too high because butter burns at a lower temperature. So if you wanted it to be like a hotter sear, go ahead and just use the tallow, which has a higher smoke point. We're trying to take it out and put it into the baking sheet. As you can see, I then use whatever drippings are left on the pan and I just pour it over the steak. It just adds so much more flavor, so I'm here for that. Now it is time to go ahead and put it in the oven. I set the timer for 10 minutes, but I really took it out, or I opened the door at 49 seconds left. And so I took it out probably like 35 seconds, so you can kind of judge. I usually go between 8 minutes and 12 minutes, depending on the thickness and what kind of steak it is. If it's thicker, I go longer, and if it's a little bit on the smaller side, I go closer to the 8 to 9 minutes. So while that steak's already been in there a couple minutes, I will start on the egg. So I'll put some butter in a pan and let that heat up. I started it out really high, and then I turned that down to low. So I'll just keep that butter on there until it melts, and then I will crack the egg. And I will also just keep it on low until it cooks, just because I want it to be done around the same time as my steak. And then I showed you the oven, and you can't really see anything, so we'll have to just wait a second until we can see inside the oven. And you could barely see the timer, but it was 50 seconds just like half a second ago. And so I will pull it out, and then let it rest for about a minute or so. After it was done resting for about that minute or so, I then started to cut into it. I just cut out the bone and any of the hard cartilage that I can't eat through. And then I basically just slice it up, and then I just put it on my plate. And then I enjoy. As you can see, I just cut out like the edible part of the fat, which I don't know why there's this inside layer of thick cartilage that you can't eat, but on the outside you can. So that's what you saw me doing there. And then I just discard all of the hard cartilage that you can't eat. And then now onto my favorite part. I love slicing the steak and then like looking at it and looking at how it's cooked. It's like medium rare. Oh, that's my favorite part. I love steak. So good. And then you see me doing some sketchy things with the knife, but we are just gonna cut that out. And finally, the sunny side up egg goes onto the plate and we are done, ready to eat. And I also just topped it off with a little bit more salt. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget about the giveaway that is almost over. We're about to choose the winner, so if you haven't gone over to the other video and commented, go ahead and do so. Yeah, have a good one.